Hello, welcome back to another session of the Donor Conversation Weekly. My name's Brian Funk with Practivated, and I am joined by my colleague Charlotte, and we are excited to dive into another conversation that will hopefully help you prepare for the lead up and navigating through year-end giving season. On this week's call, we're going to be going through donor impact update calls. So if this is your first time tuning in, we are actually going to use the Practivated platform. We're going to dive into a simulated donor conversation so that we can practice how to navigate a conversation, updating a donor on the impact that they've had on our mission. After the simulation wraps, we're actually going to pull in our AI conversation coach, Tivy, who's going to give us feedback on how we could have strengthened the conversation. So Charlotte is here to lead the way. Charlotte, welcome. Happy Wednesday.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Brian. Excited to be joining you here for this important conversation this week and diving in with Coach Tivy afterwards.
Amazing. Do you have anything that you want to tee us up with before you dive in, or should we get to it?
Yeah, let's, I will tee us up a little bit here. So as Brian shared, this is our major donor impact update and stewardship conversation. So this is a conversation where you'll engage a major donor in kind of a strategic stewardship conversation. The goal here is to celebrate their impact, reaffirm their confidence in, the direction of the organization, and maybe lay some additional groundwork for a future investment conversation. But we don't want to make an ask here. This is all about strengthening the donor's sense of partnership and shared vision. The fundraiser, we really want them to leave the conversation with like a greater insight into the donor's priorities and renewed trust and alignment around what the future can hold. So this is a fun conversation to have because it's all, appreciation and gratefulness for the donor. And we're kind of stepping back from that ask that we've been doing the last few weeks with these practice conversations.
Amazing. Love it. Well, let's dive into the simulation and get started. I'm excited to see how this goes.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. So I'm going to just jump in here. Again, this is our practice scenarios. I just like to do a quick refresher here. You can always search for a specific scenario or look at different relationship phases or skill indicators here to filter down and then find the one you need. You can set it to easy, medium, or hard. And then, you have your goal there to kind of give you a sense of the direction of the conversation. And we're going to click start. And here we go.
Hi, thanks for reaching out. I'm glad we could connect.
Hi, Jordan. Thank you so much for making time to connect today. I wanted to start by really expressing my deep gratitude for your support of the Arts Scholarship at Tivy University. Your generosity has really opened the door for so many talented students. And I'd love to share some recent updates and hear your thoughts on how things are going from your perspective.
Thank you, Charlotte. I really appreciate that. I've been glad to support the Arts Scholarship, and I've been thinking about the impact it's had since we last connected. I imagine a lot has taken shape since then, so I'd love to hear what's been happening, what you're seeing on the ground, how the students are doing, and any milestones from the past year that stand out. And beyond just the individual stories, which I always value, I'd be interested to hear how this fits into the broader trajectory of the program. Are you seeing momentum build? Let's start there.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. This year, the scholarship supported 10 students studying a variety of arts majors. So we have a few in dance and theater. We have a few in music and composition, and some in just kind of overall arts education. I did want to share, because I know you've connected with him at some of the scholarship dinners we've had over the last 2 years, but Brian, who performed at the national exhibition for his piano work this last week, went really well. He placed second, and I'm sure he'll connect with you. But it's been so amazing to see the talent and dedication your support helps nurture. And in addition to his achievements, the students have collectively completed 10 performances and earned 3 awards this fall in their variety of kind of arts areas. So that's been really amazing to just reflect both on their hard work and the opportunities your gift has made possible. And I really know that your focus is on fostering creativity and supporting this next generation of artists, and seeing these students thrive. I hope aligns, with the vision you have, and your investment directly helping shape our future leaders in the arts. But I would love to, hear your thoughts on some of these updates from our students and how this has helped kind of bring your vision to life.
Wow, Charlotte. That's genuinely inspiring. Hearing about Brian placing second at the national exhibition, what an incredible accomplishment for him. I remember meeting him, and it's both gratifying and humbling to see his journey unfold. Please pass along my congratulations when you see him again. And the range of disciplines the students are exploring, dance, theater, composition, art education, that really speaks to the breadth of talent Tippy is attracting and nurturing. 10 performances and 3 awards in just one term is no small feat. It sounds like there's a vibrant creative energy building, and more importantly, these young artists are receiving the support they need to grow their craft. You're absolutely right. My hope has always been that a scholarship like this wouldn't just relieve financial pressure, but would actually cultivate bold, expressive voices who can make meaningful contributions to the cultural fabric of their communities. From what you've shared, it sounds like that vision is taking root. I'm curious, how are the students connecting with one another across disciplines? Is the program facilitating any cross-pollination between, say, the musicians and the visual artists? I'm always interested in how innovation happens in those spaces in between. And do you feel the momentum this fall is part of a larger trend at Tippy in terms of how it's positioning the arts across the university? It really means a lot to get such a thoughtful, tangible picture of what's happening. It makes it feel less like a donation and more like a partnership.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. So to kind of hear your perspective, and I'm really glad I was able to share the updates on Brian and his work, and some of the I guess the depth of experience we have with these students in a variety of different arts programs. I'm really glad to hear that you're excited about the momentum there. And you shared that you wanted to talk about kind of how we're bringing these communities together and these artists together at Tivy University. And one thing that we are working on, another project down the road, is putting together an arts dormitory. So we want to make sure that we have space for incoming freshmen and then sophomores to kind of live in a similar environment, and be able to collaborate with each other even more than they do in their kind of classes that overlap. And so providing that environment where they're spending more time with each other day to day. So that is something that the university is looking into, doing kind of these different cohort dorms across the university. So that would be interesting. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. And then the other thing we're looking to do is expand support for art students through mentorship programs and collaboration with local art organizations. And I think this will really help amplify the impact of like the scholarship even further by getting them introduced into the community, so that once they graduate, they have these mentors and these organizations that they've been a part of, and maybe even internship opportunities, so that their education is then propelling them forward into their career in the arts. So I'd love your thoughts on both of those pieces.
Charlotte, I really appreciate you sharing that. It's exciting to hear the broader vision that's forming around the scholarship. The idea of an arts dormitory is compelling. I've always believed that creativity is often sparked through proximity and shared energy, and giving students an intentional environment to live, collaborate, and reflect together could really deepen their growth, not just as individual artists, but as interdisciplinary thinkers. I could see that kind of space fostering some really unexpected and powerful collaborations. I imagine it also sends a signal about the university's commitment to elevating the arts, not just academically, but as a holistic part of the student experience. Is this something being piloted yet, or more in the early planning phase? And the Mentorship and Community Partnerships Initiative. That's a smart move. The transition from university to career can be one of the most fragile times for emerging artists. Having built-in pathways to local organizations, internships, and artistic networks would make the scholarship a true launchpad. From an investment perspective, I think these kinds of integrated support structures could amplify every dollar put into the program. It turns a single gift into something that sustains and scaffolds a student's journey all the way to a stable creative life. I'm curious, are you envisioning formal partnerships with local theaters, museums, or arts nonprofits in that mentorship model? And how might alumni be brought into that loop? It's encouraging to see this strategic thinking here, making sure the scholarship isn't just a lifeline, but part of something much more enduring.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. It's so wonderful, just the momentum that your scholarship has brought to the arts at Tivy University, and just the difference it's making in our students already. And I think we just want to amplify that impact in their everyday environment here, and then with that connection outside, post graduation. And just like you said, I think this is a really great way to create that community and help propel their careers forward. Both of these things are in early stage, and I would just, I think we're moving forward with making some connections for alumni mentorships. So I love your thinking there with connecting alumni to students. We're thinking about some programs there. But I was wondering, we always value your insight and your experience, and just talking to you about the programs and the arts here at Tivy University. And I always leave our conversations feeling inspired. And I just wanted to see if you would be open to a conversation to brainstorm some of these ideas we have here for the arts kind of expansion. Like I said, it's very early phase, so I would love to get your perspective and your thoughts moving forward.
Charlotte, I'm genuinely honored that you'd think to include me in that early conversation. I'd be glad to explore ideas with you, especially at a stage where imagination and input can still shape direction. These are exactly the kinds of upstream opportunities where I think strategic philanthropy can do its best work, helping remove friction for big ideas, making connections across networks, and ensuring that student support programs evolve into long-term ecosystems. I'd love to spend a little time hearing what you're envisioning more fully, how the university is thinking about scale, which voices you're bringing into the planning process, and perhaps where early momentum already exists. If there are areas where you're hoping to build out capacity, whether with partners, alumni, community voices, it might be energizing to take a bird's eye look together and see what could be possible. Let's definitely set aside time to dig into it. Just let me know what works best on your side. And thank you again, truly, for the way you're thinking so expansively about the students and the role of the arts here. It makes my ongoing involvement feel not only worthwhile, but inspiring.
Jordan, I truly can't thank you enough for your continued support. I'm excited that you are interested in talking through some of these programs more, and your generosity is really making a difference here for these students. I'll keep you updated on their journeys as I have been each semester, and I really look forward to sharing more successes with you in the months ahead. I will follow up with a quick recap and my calendar so we can get some time to just sit down and really talk through what's next for this program and for the arts here at Tivy University. I'm just gonna cut it off there since that one went a little bit longer. Yeah, that was fun.
Amazing. While this processes, and I'm excited to see the score that you're going to get in terms of, where you were strongest and areas of opportunity for growth in the conversation. Um, just kind of like curious to like flesh out a few things. I mean, I really liked, at least just as like as a viewer, like a fly on the wall watching you have the conversation. Love that you like dove into specific examples using real students, but then zooming that out into collective impact. So I thought
Mhm.
that was really great. And then another component that I hadn't really, I don't know, that I hadn't really thought of before. Maybe it's just because I have this third party vantage point watching you have the conversation is, and I'm curious to see your reaction and what you think, is I feel like the deeper that you go into the conversation scenario in Jordan was actually feeding you
Mhm.
really great sample talking points that you could then actually extract, pull out, and use yourself when
Yeah.
making the real call. I don't
Yeah.
know, just like what's your feedback and reflection on that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think I took a little bit of Tivi feedback from last week where she said, pause and reframe what the donor shared before you dive into answering those questions. And I feel like in doing so, I was actually able to extract some of that he was saying. Like, he was giving some really great thoughts around that kind of ecosystem building at the university level and beyond, for these students. And I was able to kind of reframe that and ask him questions around that. So I agree. I think, since it was a little bit more developed and like detailed this time, I felt like, yeah, I was able to take things from Jordan, the avatar that he was saying, and
Mm,
use that in the conversation itself, but also like in framing it for my next conversation around that topic. So yeah, it was fun. It was this was when I was like, going into, obviously I'm doing these live here for you all, but I don't have current donors I'm talking to with these
yeah.
types of major gift impacts. So I really was like, oh, I'll just like, you know, build something. And he definitely caught me with the like, what are you thinking is next for like building this out? And I was like, oh.
You're
So
like,
definitely,
I'm gonna make something up.
yeah. So definitely kept me on my toes, but that's always fun. But yeah, it was a really great one. Let's dive
Amazing.
into some scores.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, so let's see what we got here. All right. So here's our scoring feedback page. Just as a quick refresher, we have 4 different areas with 4 specific skills that you are building in that area. So communication and delivery, fundraising specific skills, and then relationship building and strategic thinking. So you can dive into any of those. If we wanted to look at define next step, strong reach here, what was noticed in the conversation, setting up a next step by proposing a future meeting, what to try next, ensure to follow up promptly with the meeting details. So that's something you can do outside of the call or within the call. I could have said, how's next Wednesday work for you? But I was kind of leaving it a little bit less pressure on him there
Mm,
to decide on that, since I didn't want, I really wanted it to be kind of a impact update stewardship call and not really, I think that the next step is great. And I could have, said next Wednesday too. I think that's fine. But that was just my thinking with that. But yeah, and then we can view the transcript and summary over here of the call. And then we can talk with Tivi about the score. So let's look at I'm going to take a look at active listening. So she says here, you demonstrated active listening by reflecting donors' words and sentiments. Continue to practice active listening and consider summarizing key points back to the donor. to confirm understanding and alignment. So I was trying, I was aiming to do that a little bit more here in this conversation today than I usually do. But I want to talk to Tivi about what I could do better as an active listener, especially in these like impact update kind of calls where I don't have an ask on the table. I really want to make sure that I'm listening to the donor and hearing, their thoughts around how their scholars or what their impact is on the organization.
Hello, Charlotte. How can I support you in improving the active listening? I've seen your feedback and conversation. Let's explore how we can strengthen this area together.
Yeah. Hi, Tivi. This conversation, my main focus was providing an update on the impact of this donors scholarship fund and what the scholars of this fund are up to right now, and also just diving into a few kind of future thoughts around building that arts community. I feel like I did reframe his questions and confirm kind of understanding of the program here and there throughout the conversation. But I really want to make sure that in these types of conversations, I'm pausing and opening it up for the donor to share more. What steps would you take to do that?
You're absolutely on the right path, Charlotte, and your instinct to deepen the space for the donor to share is spot on. One simple but powerful shift is to weave in strategic curiosity more often, especially after you share an update or idea. When you present progress or a future vision, follow it not just with "I'd love your thoughts," but with something a bit more expansive, like, "What does that spark for you?" Or, "Does that connect with what you've been thinking about in the arts lately?" These types of questions do two things. Teaser one, they signal that the donor's perspective is active, not just reactive. Two, they invite reflection and uncover priorities you might not learn otherwise. You already reflected some of his ideas back beautifully. Next time, take one more beat to invite him into meaning making with you. Want to try rewriting a moment in this convo where you think you could have done that?
I really love that feedback
Mhm.
from her, especially the allowing the donor to feel like they have an active, they're an active participant in this and not just reactive to your thoughts and ideas. I loved that, and I think that is kind of the direction I was trying to go in with offering like this time and space for them to provide like their initial feedback and thoughts on this new programming. But even within that conversation, I think reframing it to ask him some of those questions she gave as an example um, is just excellent advice. And we can, if you need to review what some of those questions she proposed are, you can come here. So she said, I really liked this one. Does that connect with what you've been thinking about in the arts lately? And that could just open the door up to so many more thoughts and ideas that maybe they have around how to keep the scholars, the students on these scholarships more connected to organizations or the arts or each other. So really liked that. Um,
Nice. Yeah, what I think's also great here is for the one area where you like had an opportunity to grow, which was improving the ask effectiveness,
mhm.
the suggestion from Tivi around getting more specific in
Mhm.
what you're prompting, in terms of their reaction or how they're digesting the impact update that you're sharing is
Yeah,
also the other way that you're running discovery on, how you can unlock, you know, another gift later, more impact down the
right,
road,
right.
and make a more effective ask. So I like really like how her feedback was tied kind of laddered back into that area for
Mhm.
growth, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, great. Well, that is a wrap. We hope that this session will help you prepare for your next donor impact update call. And of course, we come back every week with a whole new scenario. And we're joined every week by Tivi, our AI coach. And if you want to take something home with you today, we have actually just released our State of Donor Conversations report. This is the first time that we've actually taken a look at our simulation data across over 100 fundraisers. This features 370 total simulations where we're starting to map out different trends across the sector in terms of how we're performing in conversation with donors. This is the first time that we've ever had access to be able to quantify the skill sets and data points around building relationships with our donors. So it's an incredible resource, tons of insight. Download it here at the QR code, and we'll be back next week with a whole nother conversation and simulation to dive into. Thanks, Charlotte.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everyone. Have a great week.
See you next week. With every modern tool and technology available to us, why do we still struggle to meet the donor where they are in their journey? It's because technology can't replace the #1 skill set fundraisers use and need every single day to move from insights to action: the art of human conversation and connection. Because conversations move missions. The right conversation can unlock generosity, deepen trust, and fuel impact. But fundraisers rarely get a safe place to practice those high-stakes moments. That's why we built Practivated, the first AI-powered donor conversation simulator built just for fundraisers. Our AI coach, Tivi, provides real-time, personalized feedback so every fundraiser can build confidence, sharpen their storytelling, and strengthen relationships.
I'm your strategic fundraising coach built right into Practivated. My whole focus is helping fundraisers like you take confident, high-impact action by aligning with what truly drives donor behavior. I'm trained in evidence-backed strategies that center authentic connection, ethical storytelling, and time-smart execution. Nothing fluffy, all results-oriented. So whether you're navigating a tricky donor conversation, refining your outreach, or battling fundraising fatigue, I'm here for just-in-time guidance that's practical and actionable.
Ready to see it in action? Step into practice today. Practivated. Confidence for every conversation.